Vamos a comenzar esta clase correctamente hablando de uno de los países más influyentes de Europa, el Reino de España. Como muchos otros países de Europa, la historia de España comienza hace miles de años. Oh, come on, no Spanish either? We live in California, for goodness sake. The state's name is Spanish in origin. Oh well, I will continue in boring old English. A menos que estigueu veam el català? Oh, fine, no Catalan either. So uncultured. Anyway, like most European countries, Spanish history begins thousands of years ago. But unlike other Mediterranean civilizations, the Iberian Peninsula did not reach its height of power until after the medieval period. Before I start, however, I want to clarify something. The Iberian Peninsula is the entire landmass that includes modern-day Spain, Portugal, Andorra, and Gibraltar. And Hispania was the Roman name for that area. Got it? Good. For much of ancient history, the Iberian Peninsula, what is now Spain and Portugal, was dominated by the other Mediterranean powers of Greece, Phoenicia, Carthage, and Rome. Of all the great empires of the ancient world, however, Rome had the greatest impact on Spain and neighboring Portugal. The first Roman provinces in modern-day Spain were set up in the year 218 BCE, and the Romans would remain in control of Hispania until the 5th century. That's almost 700 years of Roman control. The lasting legacy of Rome in modern-day Spain is extremely clear. There are many Roman ruins throughout the country, and Spaniards to this day speak a Latin-based Romance language. As a matter of fact, the Spanish language is the closest living language to the Italian language, and the Italian language is the closest language to that of Latin. There are many similarities between Spanish, Italian, and Latin. And some Spanish speakers can even understand Italian if they listen closely. Anyway, after the fall of the Roman Empire, modern-day Spain came under the control of the Visigoths. But the Goths would not control Spain for long. In the 8th century, the Visigothic kingdom was destroyed by the invading armies of the Muslim Umayyad Caliphate. Pretty much all of the Iberian Peninsula, again, modern-day Spain and Portugal, ended up being under the control of Muslims. The Muslims even tried to expand further north into modern-day France, but the Frankish kings were able to stop that invasion. So, while Spain was under the control of the Muslims, many of the people remained Catholics, and as such, Muslim rulers gave all Spaniards freedom of religion. So all Muslims, Catholics, and Jews in modern-day Spain had the right to practice whatever religion they chose. Despite this, many Spaniards still resented their Muslim rulers, and it was not long until the small kingdoms in the north of modern-day Spain started to expand south and take lands away from the Muslim kingdoms of Iberia. While there were other countries in Iberia at the time, the three biggies that started to reconquer much of the Iberian Peninsula were the County of Portugal, the Kingdom of Castile, and the Kingdom of Aragon. For much of the late Middle Ages, these three kingdoms fought to return the Iberian Peninsula under Christian rule. This massive effort was known as the Reconquista, or Reconquest. In 1492, the last Muslim army in modern-day Spain was defeated, and the entirety of the Iberian Peninsula was now under Christian, Catholic rule. At this time of victory, the Queen of Castile was named Isabella, and her husband just so happened to be the King of Aragon. Because they jointly defeated the Muslims in Iberia, they were given the honorific title Los Reyes Católicos, or the Catholic Monarchs. And also because of their marriage, the kingdoms of Castile and Aragon came together to form the Kingdom of Spain. In their moment of triumph, the Catholic monarchs decided to sponsor an Italian explorer named Christopher Columbus. His discovery changed the course of human history, and it looked something like this.
Holy smokes! Christopher Columbus, that is no way to address the King and Queen of Spain. What is wrong with you? Okay, so you know how we're looking for a new trade route to India, right? Right. And the Earth is round, right? Right. So I'm thinking we can just sail the other way around the planet, right? Yeah. So I set sail, right? And I reach India, right? Right. Wrong. I did not reach India. I did not. Alright, get to the point. Did you know there's a whole nother freaking continent out there? Okay, and do you think I should care about this? Why? Oh, I'm sorry, did I forget to mention there's gold everywhere? Gold? Columbus landed in Central America in October 1492, and he had the time of his life. And by that I mean he went on a huge theft and murder spree. He stole gold, jewelry, people, and a hammock. And then he returned to show off all of his riches, including a few previously undiscovered items such as tobacco, the pineapple, turkeys, and a hammock.
Well, maybe not exactly like that, but Columbus's voyages were still kind of a big deal. Anyway, while Spain was busy building a massive empire in the Americas, the Catholic monarchs and their successive rulers decided to completely rid their territories of non-Christians. All Jews and Muslims either had to convert to Catholicism or leave Spain. For a country that previously had religious freedom, this Spanish Inquisition was a big deal. And it is part of the reason why there are so few non-Catholics in Spain today. Religion also played a big role in the buildup of the Spanish Empire in the Americas. Many Spanish missionaries were sent to the Americas to convert the native peoples to Catholicism. The legacy of that can be seen easily in the former Spanish colonies. Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Central America, Colombia, and others are overwhelmingly Catholic. That legacy can even be seen here in California. Ever been to a mission? Well, they were founded by the Spanish to convert the native Californians. While Spain was, without a doubt, one of the most powerful nations on Earth in the 16th and 17th centuries, Spanish power started to crumble almost as soon as it reached its height. Spain simply could not keep up with the growing power of France and England. In spite of Spain losing power to its European neighbors, it still held onto a vast empire that was global in reach. As a matter of fact, the Spanish Empire was the largest empire the world had ever seen at the time and would only be surpassed by the British Empire in the 19th century. Well, speaking of the 19th century, it was in the early 1800s that many of the former Spanish colonies in the Americas started to rebel against the mother country. On May 25, 1810, Argentina declared its independence. On July 20, 1810, Colombia then declared its independence. Then on September 16, 16 de septiembre, 1810, Mexico did the same. And on September 18, 1810, Chile followed suit. Well, needless to say, 1810 was not a good year for Spain. With pretty much its entire colonial empire in open rebellion, Spain was not able to keep its empire and lost all of its continental American lands by the mid-1820s. By this point, all that was left of Spain's once mighty empire was Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. Thanks to the loss of their empire, Spain went through a great amount of turmoil at home. As a matter of fact, by 1873, the monarchy was overthrown altogether, and a new Spanish republic was proclaimed. That republic would not last long, however, as the monarchy returned just 1 year later. In the late 1800s, Spain lost all of its remaining colonial holdings. This time to the United States in the Spanish-American War, and once again, Spain was in turmoil. King Alfonso VIII led Spain through these difficult times, but by 1931, public opinion had turned against him, and the Second Spanish Republic was proclaimed. Shortly after the new republic was proclaimed, a civil war broke out between those that supported the new liberal republic and those that were monarchists, nationalists, and fascists. There are those words nationalist and fascist again. Well, to recap, a nationalist is someone who has deep pride in their native country. And that, in and of itself, is not a bad thing. But when people take nationalism to the extreme, they are so proud of their country that they think everyone else is worthless and not even human, well, they become fascists. So again, on one side of the Civil War, you had Spanish Republicans, and on the other side, you had nationalists and fascists. The nationalists won the war, and Generalissimo Francisco Franco took control of the Spanish government and established a fascist state in Spain. Because of his fascist ideology, Franco was initially allied with the likes of Hitler and Mussolini, but when war broke out, he kept Spain neutral. Now, why did he do that? With Spain joining World War II on the side of Germany and Italy, it would have made things much more difficult for the Allies. There were a few times in which Spain almost joined the war on the side of Germany, but British intelligence agents in Spain gave various leaders $200 million in bribes to keep Spain out of the war. Because Spain never did join the war on the side of Italy and Germany, the fascist regime of Franco was allowed to remain in power and continued to rule the country until his death in 1975. Upon Franco's death, the grandson of the last king of Spain, Juan Carlos, acceded to the throne of Spain. Franco had personally tutored and trained Juan Carlos to become king after his death, and when the new king came to power, many thought that he would just continue Franco's policies. Juan Carlos, however, had different plans. He used his newfound power to reintroduce democracy into Spain and willingly gave up power to elected leaders. In 1981, old supporters of Franco tried to retake control of the government in a military coup, and part of the reason why the coup failed was that King Juan Carlos I sent a broadcast out to the nation asking all of those participating in the coup to lay down their weapons and support the democratically elected leaders of Spain. After that moment, Juan Carlos I became one of the most popular leaders in Spanish history and around the world. Today, the monarchy remains, and Spain is one of the most powerful countries in Europe and is a democratic country thanks in part to that monarchy. It is a member of the European Union and the NATO military alliance today. I will now leave you with this: Plus ultra, further beyond, the national motto of Spain.